Hey everybody, I'm Jill Conway and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I'm hoping you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Kim Rogne. Now, Kim is a performance coach. She's CEO of a personal development company called For the Love of, and best-selling author of For the Love of Self, How to Change Your Mindset in Just 5 Minutes a Day. So Kim, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jill. I'm so glad we finally made this happen. I'm super excited.
Me too. So so great to have you on. So before we unpacked, the business and that you launched at the age of 50, which I love. So we'll definitely talk about that and your journey. I wanted to talk about, you as a person and how you got to this point in your life as a coach. You were a real estate agent and how you became this entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
how did it all start?
Wow. So, yes, I do come from being in the background of real estate for 25 years. The first 15 years I was in sales, and then the last 10 years I was the CEO of several multi-million dollar brokerages where I had six staff, six-ish staff members, I would say, and 183 associates, 100% commissioners, kind of like, wrangling a kindergarten class every day. And part of my job, besides holding the profit and loss accountable to the investors and growing and leading the company, was I was speaking on a regular basis and coaching the top agents that were making six figures to upwards of over $1 million if they were, running multiple businesses. And kind of a long story short, I had a bit of a forced slowdown when I had a traumatic skiing accident out in Breckenridge, Colorado. I broke my tibia, my fibia, and fractured my ankle and left with a whole bunch of beautiful hardware, not going to lie here.
Yeah.
And, really, I felt like in 25 years, that was probably the first time that I really was forced to think. And something does happen when you enter different phases of your life, right? When you are knocking on the door of 50. I knew I kind of wanted to do something different. I had been listening to some whispers probably for about 2 years, but kind of ignoring them just because I didn't have time to listen to them. I didn't have time to pick them apart and analyze and
I love
so
that.
on.
The whispers of the soul, right? It's true. It's very true. Go ahead. I love this. Go ahead.
Yes. And so by the end of that year, so I had my accident in January, and then by the end of that particular year in 2022, I ended up giving a notice. I gave a 2-month notice in November, and I said, I'm going to go do something. I know it will include coaching because that is what I have been doing. I also knew I needed it to include that because I did need to make money day one. And I knew that that would be the easiest thing. And so that's when I launched For the Love of back in January of 2023. So that's how it all started.
Wow, but I love that. So because we talk a lot about, because I'm 53, we talk a lot about on the show the mindset and how you can recreate yourself at any age. And everyone knows, like, I've been a real estate agent for 10 years and it's a tough job. I mean, you burn out. I mean, I was a news reporter for 20 years and that was tough.
Yeah.
And there's very similar, skills involved, but you did it for so long and then you coach people and, real estate agents, and I'm sure there's going to be some listening, are a handful. Right. So we'll leave it there. When you talk about your accident, it was, it really, I feel like there's that saying, like, when you don't give yourself time to pause, God will kind of, the universe will get in the way and kind of like give you a reason to pause. Right.
Yeah.
So what did you learn in that? Like you said, you heard the whispers, like there's something more than this, right?
Yeah. I love that question. I say, first of all, there had been some leadership change. So that's where the whispers were coming and we weren't quite aligned. That was one. So I knew that was already kind of percolating, if you will. But one of the things that I did do when I finally took the leave of absence, I'll be straight up honest, Jill, I did not in the beginning. So especially you being in real estate, the unique part about real estate is it happens 7 days a week.
Yes.
Right? It just does. 80% of those that I coach are in the real estate space because that's where I came from, of
Sure,
course.
of course.
And the number one thing that I coach to, which is different, is I coach them to take a day off. I'm like, we are going to get to a point where we figure out you can have a day off so that you don't resent your career, because it is a beautiful career, especially for women. There's no glass ceiling. You get to set your own schedule. But after I took the leave of absence, when I noticed I wasn't quite showing up the way that I wanted to,
which is very scary. That's very scary to do.
Yeah. I went to the investors, and it was after 6 weeks of attempting to work over Zoom and going into the office in a wheelchair and at half the time and not posting the numbers that I normally post. And I literally went to my boss and I was like, I think this is not working for me. Like, I'm not comfortable meeting the expectations of the investors. Like, that doesn't work for my mindset. I said, I think I actually need a leave of absence. And so I asked for a 6-week leave of absence, which according to my surgeon, I should have done from the beginning. She was like, you did have a traumatic accident. I'm like, well, but I just don't know how to do any different. And so during that 6 weeks, I would say one of the most impactful things that I did, besides binge watching Golden Girls, and you'll get it because you're my age.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, you've been watching something, right?
Yeah, thank you for being a friend.
Yeah, right? Oh my God, which will haunt you in your dreams, that song, right?
No, it haunts my family in their dreams. Because, it's a short little the show is only 17 minutes, and I would play it over and over again, and they're like, okay, Mom, that's enough. We're done with thank you.
But it's interesting because I feel like when something happens like that, you seek comfort in something. Right. And that was
comfort
maybe
and laughter.
Growing up, it was always on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it's like Little House on the Prairie, or right? Or something like that. So, okay. So you picked Gold. You picked Golden Girls.
So I did that. And then after that, I'm a huge fan of obviously personal growth. And so are your people. That's why they're here listening. But I love assessments. Like, I love whether it's the DISC or the Enneagram, or whether it's Strength Finders or whatever. There's zillions of them out there. And so I decided to pull out all of my assessments, and I took a couple other ones, and I actually printed them. I thought, okay, I'm going to old school this. I'm going to print them. I put them in a binder, and I'm going to actually read them. And I'm going to read them as if I don't know the person that I'm reading about. And because as much as I had done these with my leadership team and we've done activities on them, we tend to skim information about ourselves. We're like, oh, yeah. I know that I'm a high D. I know I'm rapid. I know I'm a quick start. I'm such a quick start. I don't even need to read about me being a quick start. It's like
time to read about
I got time for that. I got to move on.
Right. Right.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to read this. I'm going to really just kind of visit myself. I'm going to find my ikigai, as they say. Go find the things that you're really good at and that you love and that you can make money in. And I just kept kind of looking at different assessments, and I was on Dave Ramsey and what job should I do next? And, over and over again. And so that was, I think, the catalyst where for some reason I needed to prove to myself that I was worthy enough and that I had the knowledge enough and that I had the natural talent enough to go do something different. And so I do recommend, and they're all great, but one of my favorites is Strength Finders. And I recommend that one all the time. I recently recommended it.
Down. I'll put that in the notes too. Strength
Finders.
We
can put a link in there, and I can give it to you. And I don't make any money on it. And it is $49 or $59. It's not a free one, but you get a really nice little snapshot of what your strengths are and also the blind spots around it. And it helps you articulate who you are, right? Whether that's you're taking it in. And I recommended it to a niece of mine who was out of work and was applying for a job and, going on all these job interviews. I'm like, girlfriend, I'll pay for this. Go take this. You got to go take this right now.
That's one of the most important questions to ask ourselves at any age is, who am I? Who do I want to be?
And we change. We change as well. Yes, we've still, there's a lot of things obviously that we're born with. My daughters are who they were when they were born that we now recognize. One is bossy and One is a little bit more softer, you know,
I have
but,
those too. Yeah.
so that was a tactical that I did. One of the things. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're old, your kids are older. And I feel like that's another shift that we don't often talk about. I want to do a whole show on that about, when your kids, you've launched your kids right into the world. And now it's like you have a little extra time, or you're trying to figure out what you really want to do, what's your purpose in life. And then you get to that point where you're like, I feel like I thought it was the 40s when I was in the 40s, or because you're going through physical changes and
Yeah.
perimenopause. But I feel
Yeah.
like in the 50s, I don't know what happens. It's like I got to figure this out now. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not that I'm running out of time, because I feel like in this day and age, we could live another 50 years. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, technology is fantastic, but we really go deep. We go
Mm-hmm.
deep. And like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going to make me happy? Where is the joy? Right? We've worked so hard, and you have clearly for decades. And then it's like, I want to have fun too. I want to do what I want to do. And you help women, right? You help working moms too. I mean,
Yeah. I mainly work with women. I have a couple of male clients. I do not discriminate, but I do speak to women. I mean, and it took, I'll be honest, it took me a moment to be okay with that. So when I first started For the Love Of, and started with coaching, and then it turned into speaking and producing a journal. But when I first started, I was of the mindset that I did need to be very masculine, and I don't know why. And even coming from, real estate is now 60% of those that are in real estate are women. So I don't know if 60% of the leaders are. So, if you think about the leaders of the brokerages, the large brokerages, so I still think there's work to be done there. But when I first started, I remember I was like, I am going to call myself an executive coach. And even my first round of For the Love of Self, it's going to be black, it's going to be red. I mean, I spoke like that, and I was just like, no, I don't just speak to women. But I decided,
That's
like,
funny.
when we talk about the whispers, I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do differently is I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to actually listen to who I do attract, because then it makes my world that much easier. Even in real estate, if it's who is your avatar, as they say, or who is your client. We don't need to work with all of them. And every time I would speak, generally speaking, it was women that would come up to me, and they would say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I can relate to that. Or, oh, you could really help me with this. I need some help with my confidence around this. And it was a moment. And then I was like, okay, all right, wait a second. I am a woman. I have 2 daughters. What is wrong with me? Like, why am I feeling like I won't be invited to the room, or at the conference table, or on the stage, and have to apologize because I actually am a woman? And so now I've embraced that. And yes, I do speak to women. If anybody follows me, I speak to working moms. I've always been a working mom. I'm revamping my journal. It's actually going to look a little bit more feminine. It's going to actually look pretty on your coffee table. It's not going to look ugly like it does right now. Right. It got me to where I am today, but I'm just embracing it a little bit more.
It's so funny you say that, because I feel like culture says that, bring out the badass, we have to play in the man's world, and I'm married. It's going to be 27 years.
Yep. I'm 27 right here, girlfriend.
Oh, all right. Perfect. Happy anniversary. I love my husband to death, and I love men, but I feel like we've been told for so long, right? Like, you have to be ballsy, right? You gotta be a badass. And that's where I feel like we have kind of, many of us, and I'm guilty of that too. You lose the softer side when you're in business. Sometimes you forget, or you just lose touch with it.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Or we get all judgy in our head. And so one of the lines that I use with my clients when, maybe they're in a situation of, not everybody coaches in real estate. Everybody that I do coach is definitely 100% commission. They're 1099. Maybe they're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, various different industries, right? But sometimes there are clients who are on teams or they're in partnership with, you know, let's just say a builder, for example, and, you know, they're having a tough time at really putting the stake in the ground with their confidence. And so one of the lines I use a lot is I'll say, okay, here's what we're going to do is you're going to go into this conversation and you're going to speak like a man, but you're going to have the heart of a woman. And what I mean by speak like a man is a man will not go in and say, I'm sorry. They'll just go in and say what they need to say. We're not going to apologize that you think it's time for you to ask for a raise or whatever it might be. And so we just kind of like practice together what that tactically could look like. It doesn't mean you still don't have the heart of a woman. We're just going to go in and we're going to put our shoulders back and we're going to be a little bit more prouder and we're going to be a little bit more confident. And so, you know, those are some of the things that we'll work on, you know.
I find that too. I had to correct myself because I was doing texting or emails, just checking in. Like it's like what? No. Hey, I want to see where we're at with this, right? Like, what's going on? What's going on? You know? Because it's true when you start to, there's the books, you know, Think Like a Man, but when you start to like, why do I shrink myself?
Yes. What is up
Right,
with that?
right. And I think it's a common I do think it's a common problem with women. I do.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
So when you're working with moms and everything, I mean, I want to ask you before I go into that, what did you want to do when you were younger? What'd you go to school for?
Huh. Well, that could be a whole story in itself. Well, it is actually. Yeah, so when I grew up, I grew up in a family of 3 girls and I was the oldest of 3. We were labeled, whether it was we gave ourselves the label, whether society did. We kind of joke and we're like, well, our mother did, because it's always the mother's fault. We can laugh at it now. But we were labeled the pretty one, the smart one, and the athletic one. And I don't have my hair down right now if people are watching this, but my hair goes wherever I go. And everybody always talks about my hair, and she is beautiful, and I'm grateful for her today. But I was labeled the pretty one. And when you are the pretty one in the 80s and 90s, if you think back to those that are our age, you know, and we're thinking like Pretty in Pink and St. Elmo's Fire and 16 Candles, I was like, okay, I'm going to be the pretty one, which means I'm not the smart one. And when I think athletic, I think strong, and I'm not the strong one. So I'm going to go live that to a T. And so I became the cheerleader, probably not the nice cheerleader. If I have people I went to high school with who are like, maybe not so much. I dated the star football player. I was the homecoming queen. I filled the role of the label. And sometimes when we're boxed in a label, we don't think we can go beyond that label. We aren't more. And so when you talk about what did I go to school for, I went to school to actually be on the arm of the star football player who was super smart and went to Yale. But what nobody knew about Mr. Yale is that for 3 years, I was in a physically and mentally abusive relationship. And so I did have a lot to work through. So I went away to college just locally. I thought I wanted to be an accountant. Well, I don't even know why. But like, I don't even love numbers that much.
You had to just pick from a book, right? Yeah, right.
I was like, I'm going to be an accountant. Maybe I'm going to be a teacher, whatever. What am I going to do? And worked through some things. And to be honest, if we're being candid here, what had happened was I'm also on the DISC profile, a very high I, and I love to socialize. And I did socialize and had a good old time. And I actually ended up flunking out of college. And so a whole lot of work was done after that, where I was like, okay, what am I really going to do? And yes, I am smart and I am strong, but I did have to find my own way. And so when I eventually got into real estate, my gift was learning. It was leading. It was caring for people, because that's what real estate is about. And actually, it is sales. I can sell just about anything that I believe in. and you do need to have that. I'm also creative when it comes to marketing and all of these pieces that you need as a real estate agent. And so that's why I exceeded, is because I also had to heal myself from the label that I was living for so long, and then go find myself and believe in myself.
Wow, Kim. Wow, that's amazing. What an inspirational story, because I feel like, wow, I mean, but look at you now. Look how far you've come, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's well, that I can see. I mean, listen, I'm a product of I was born in the 70s, went through the same thing 80s. So, right, like you fulfilled that role. And then what, right? And that we didn't know any better. You know, when you know better,
Correct.
you do better, right?
Correct. Right.
And you were obviously, like you said, because I do so many of these shows now, and it's like so many women horribly treated, abused, and they hide it. We hide it because we somehow want to protect the abuser. And I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, it's time we don't hide anymore,
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
and that's why everything probably happened the way it did. I mean, you had to reach that point where you're like, who am I? Who do I want to
Right.
be? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when I started For the Love of, and knowing again that it was going to be coaching, I had committed to a couple of things to myself. First of all, I needed to make money. I had 2 kids in college at that time.
I hear
Um,
that. I'm right there with you. Go
you're
ahead.
like, oh my
Hmm.
goodness
Maybe
gracious,
I should
I
buy
don't
the book.
care.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you prepare for it. It
Yeah.
doesn't
No.
prepare you
No.
enough.
No. It's like we're eating scraps for dinner, honey. It's tuna fish every day. Okay. Go ahead.
Right. And,
Right.
lucky, like for you, I mean, I have supportive income, which helps. So I did have to sit down with my husband and say, okay, can we do this? Right. And if he didn't support me, it would certainly be super challenging, because it's like, well, what is going to be your salary day one? And I was like, well, 0. I mean, hello, I'm starting my own business. I know I'm coming from making a really nice salary with benefits. But I knew I needed to make money right away. And so one of the things that I had committed to is I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing that I have consistently, inconsistently done. The thing where before you start your day, you get your mindset right. And we've all heard it from wherever it might be, the miracle morning, do your savers, the whoever, all those that go before us that are amazing. Talk about, 80% of your success comes from your mindset. And I was like, okay, I know that in order for me to really launch this business and take it to where I believe I can take it, I have to internally and externally be confident. I can show up externally with confidence very easily, but that doesn't mean it's internal. And so I knew I needed to work on that. And so I stole a couple of journal prompts from a podcast I listened to. And I just started journaling in this, dollar notebook. And I was about 3 weeks into the journaling. And I had a girlfriend who had texted me, and she had said, hey, Kim, I am looking to create this new habit, and I, would love for you to hold me accountable. You're the only person that I trust. And, what do you, can we get together? I have a lot of time, what do you think we could do? Okay.
Wait, now were you was the accident happened by then? Like where
yes,
were
so
you?
now
Okay.
I'm now running For the Love of. So I'm literally 3 weeks in to building my business.
Building your business, yeah.
Figuring it out. And there's as much as I knew, there was a lot I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, girlfriend, I'm doing this journaling thing. So every day I'm journaling these 3 prompts. So why don't we do this? You want to work on the belief that you have of yourself. And just like when we find a partner, when we go to the gym for accountability, where do we have the accountability? Because I'm 3 weeks in. I'm about ready to be like just the doer and just do. I'm a doer, right? And why don't we do this together, and we'll send each other pictures? Like, let's hold each other accountable to it. So Cindy happened to be one of my staff members when I was running a brokerage. Cindy was diagnosed with ALS in 2020. It is 2025. By all accounts, she should not be here today. However, she is. And the way that she would send me her journal entries, and the way that we even communicate now, is she speaks with an eye gaze. So she looks at her iPad with her eyes and she types, and then she texts it to me. Now, she's doing some amazingly incredible things that are unconventional, not covered under insurance, choosing to live in her body the way that it is now. She's fully in a wheelchair, but she's still her same brain and mind and humor and smile. Like that's what ALS does. And so she would send me a picture of her journal entries, and unsolicited, just like this, I would tell her story. I would go and I would speak and I would say, you guys, like, it is literally changing the perception that she has of herself, and her reality is changing, and her potential is changing, and it's changing for me. And that's how I built out like a whole model around it because of this story. And unsolicited, Jill, people would send me their journal entries. So I told them, I'm like, if you want to, you can send them to me, right? Unsolicited, for accountability.
Right.
And that's how For the Love of Self was born, the journal that I wrote. Because then I created my own and did some research and whatever. But like, I didn't plan it. It came with the whole idea of working on mindset and confidence, and then slowing down and listening, and then doing something with it. And so that's one of the things that I did day one that changed everything about my business and everything about what now I coach to and speak about, because it does start with mindset.
Oh my gosh. All right, Kim, this is so good. I want to take a pause here because I want to get into the book and I want to get into the PRP method and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, we'll be back with Kim Rogne. After the commercial break, you're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. If you love what you're listening to, please follow, subscribe, Secrets on whatever platform you listen to, and never miss an episode because this is good. Okay, share this with a friend. We'll be back. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Conway. Thank you so much for listening and loving the Secrets of Powerful Women podcast. If you could, please like and subscribe to my channel on Spotify or iHeart, Apple Music, Audible, and YouTube. It will help me expand the show and bring you more incredible women who are inspiring you with their stories. I am so grateful for your support, so thank you. Keep listening and share this with your friends. We're changing the world. Okay, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Kim Rogne is with me. She is an entrepreneur, an author, and performance coach who launched her business at age 50. So, Kim, like we were mentioning, you work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, real estate agents, and things like that. But I want to touch on what you spoke about in the last part of the show, where you say the journal and that people are sending you all the journal entries, and you watch them go in a few weeks, right? From what to what, just by journaling.
Well, and yes, thanks for asking. So what I started seeing happening with Cindy and then myself and then telling the story in others was what ultimately built out my PRP model, which stands for perception, reality, and potential, because that's where it starts with. It starts with the perception that we have of ourselves. I mean, we know that when we wake up, what are we saying to ourselves? We know, I think studies show we have 60,000 thoughts per day. And of those thoughts, 75% of them are either repetitive or negative. That means 43,000 thoughts per day are telling us what we should believe about ourselves, right? And so, or protect us from something that's going to be threatening when in the end, it's really not. And so when we talk about perception, that's the whole point of it. It's like, okay, we cannot control our first thought, but maybe we can have some hand in what our second thought is. And because ultimately the perception that we do have of ourselves is our reality of who we are and our potential and who we are, what we do, and how we act. And so that's the whole PRP model. And that's how, when we talk about the For the Love of Self that I built out, it was, okay, so now how can we, because again, I'm going to take, my high D, and I'm going to be like, okay, I don't want to be like journaling for 2 hours to get my mindset right. I want to like get the bang for my buck in 5 minutes. And so when my publisher and I were working on this, I'm like, okay, I was saying, okay, how can we daily have like 6 prompts that really prime our perception so that we can start the day with intention and purpose and do the best that we can in this short life that we have. And so that's where it all began.
Wow. So for the love of self though, so what do you mean and why'd you name it that? What do you mean by
Oh,
that?
I love that. So, well, my company is named For the Love of. And what is super funny about it, Jill, is whenever I go to conventions and they print out a name tag, they'll say, "Oh, we're so sorry. Like, we skipped a word." Because they'll be like, "For the
Yeah.
love of." And I'll
Yeah.
say, "Well, the beautiful part is you get to decide, you get to fill in the blank." And so, For the Love
That.
of is just that.
Yeah.
And so anytime you're in my space, I want to make sure you leave inspired, empowered, and you promote action. And we promote action. You go and you do something and you go find you're the for the love of. And so for the love of self is just that. It's for you. It's for yourself. And so I will give you the 6 journal prompts, and then I'll also give you a link so that you can go get them. You don't have to buy the journal. And right now, right now, I don't even know if you can get it on Amazon. It was on Amazon, but we're republishing it because again, I'm making it look more pretty. Like
Well,
right now,
you've changed, you've grown,
I've
and
changed.
it's changing with you. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the concept is the same. So the concept is when you get a journal, it's a quarterly journal. And there's 3 sections to it. So the first section is very tactical. It's your weekly setup. And so it's identifying your big rocks in your life, in your personal, and I actually coach and teach, okay, now how do you actually time block for them so that you have momentum? It's very tactical. The mindset piece, which is the second part, is I give you 5 weekly. I give you the prompts and I have timed it and I've had my clients time it. I kid you not, it takes less than 5 minutes. And so the prompts that I give you are, we start with one that is, today I will release, and you fill in the blank. It could literally be anything. I will release the 10 pounds I gained at the barbecue last night. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe you just need to like love yourself and be like, okay,
Right.
It's okay, girlfriend. It's a new day.
Right. I released the ice cream I had last night.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Or the argument I had with my teenager,
Yeah.
or the client that I lost, right? Or whatever it is that we're overthinking, right? And maybe it's something bigger than that. Maybe it's something that did happen to you when you were a teenager and you need to write out the same thing every day. There's no judgment. It's your journal. You decide what to do. And then I give you a prompt of breathe out, because we know science has shown that when we use as many senses as possible, when we're looking to rewire our brain, that makes a difference. And so you're reading, which you're using your eyes, you're writing, then you're actually connecting it. And then I give you the prompt breathe out, because that's then an action. So I'm like, okay, we're going to write it, then we're going to breathe out. The second prompt that I give you is, today I will take in gratitude for. I will take in gratitude. We know that based on studying, and based on even molecular changes of being grateful, what it can do for your body. And I give you a prompt for that one of breathe in. It's like, I'm going to take in the gratitude for my warm cup of coffee, right? My reading glasses. Like, thank you very much. When you're over 50, who doesn't want to be grateful for reading glasses?
So true. I got mine. Right. I just had them on before.
Right?
So true. Yeah.
And then I have today my core focus is like, what is your core focus? And then our last last 3 prompts are, today I get to. So there's something in the words I get to versus I have to. So I have to implies obligation versus I get to is opportunity. So I get to go get my kids from soccer. I always make a joke as a working mom. I get to pick up another rotisserie chicken because I don't know what to make for dinner. They didn't have rotisserie chicken when my kids were 2 and 4. I don't know.
Yeah,
Whoever invented rotisserie chicken, like, thank you very much.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And then our last 2 statements are, I am healing, I am bold. Maybe we've started now testing, I am with a future statement, right? Like, I am running, a top 10 podcasts that has over 1 million downloads a month. I don't know, whatever it might be, a future statement. And then our last one is I will, because again, it's also about action, right? I will call my mom. I will write thank you notes. I will call 10 clients. And that's it. So we give you the prompts. Like, I don't want you worrying about it. I just, you go in there, you kind of write these out, and, you take them with you. And then the last section is our slow down to speed up. I'll be honest, this section, I don't always do. It's actually hard for me.
Yeah.
And this is more reflecting at the end of the week so that you're living in the gain versus the gap, and you can actually see your success as an entrepreneur, as a high achiever, because otherwise we're always just adding to the list and we don't even realize what we've done. And so go get yourself for the love of self. You can literally go to FlowSelf, FLOself.com, download it. I give you the prompts. I give you the explanation. And then once you get into my ecosystem every month, I do have a free webinar around it because I teach you the tacticals at how to use it and time block and certain things.
Yeah. You talk about in part of your program is, like you said, you briefly mentioned it before, but it's to work less.
Yes.
To achieve more. Like, tell me about that. What is that about? Because some people like, that's just not possible. Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, and here, I don't want to discount either. When we're entrepreneurs, work does fulfill us, right? It does. I think about being a working mom and, potentially having that guilty feeling of like, oh, when I'm at work, I want to be at home. And when I'm at home, I want to be at work. And I feel guilty because I want to work. But at the same time, if it does fulfill you and make you whole, there's nothing wrong with that. Where it becomes a potential problem or challenge is when we're so engulfed with our work that we forget about all the other pieces to our life. And I coach to 10 areas of your life, like your mental, your physical, your financial, your relationships, your social circles, because at the detriment of your relationships, why do we have work? And I've just coached way too many, in particular, real estate agents who are like 10 years in the business. And they're like, I have never had a day off. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't had a day off? First of all, we're not robots. We're humans. Your body actually does need to restore. Your nervous system also needs to know what it feels like to be in calm, because we can also be addicted to drama and chaos, and we don't know how to function without it. And so that's the joy of having the time off. And so when I'm coaching, we build it to, I meet the client where they're at, so sometimes it's, can you just take half a day? Or sometimes it's a little thing, like, can you have your lunch away from your desk?
Right.
Without your computer, right? Like, how can you regulate your nervous system so that when that day comes where you do actually choose to slow down, whether you fully retire or not, your body will actually know how to react in the calm. That's also a piece to the puzzle as well that sometimes we'll talk through. And that's kind of like what I experienced in 25 years when I had that forced slowdown. I was like, what is happening? What do I do with myself?
Right. Well, you feel like you should be doing something, right? And your body just wants you like stop and heal and watch Golden Girls, right? Like, just watch, be Arthur and embrace her.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But do you feel like, part of the culture in real estate and so many other industries is the bragging rights of, I haven't taken a vacation day, or I work so hard, I work 24/7, because being in real estate, that sometimes the phone doesn't stop texting, calling. 11 o'clock at night, people are still doing it. And I found, for me, my phone, I put it away at a certain point because I'm like, I just can't anymore. Like, I can't do that to myself. I gotta take a break. I gotta put it away. I gotta just be present with my family, with my kids, and relax.
Yeah.
There's the joy of relaxing.
Right. Exactly. Right. And put it in another room. And yes, so there's definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of industries, or just, the world that we're in now. It doesn't even matter if
Right.
we're in real estate or not. I can get addicted to TikTok all day long.
Exactly.
I mean,
Right. It's true. Right. You just keep scrolling. It doesn't even
listen,
matter,
ladies, put your phone on grayscale. I'm gonna tell you right now, the easiest thing you can do is if you put your phone on grayscale, you'll be like, what happened to Disney World?
Wait, what do you mean? What is grayscale? I don't even know what that
Oh,
is.
you
I'm
have a
not kidding.
setting on your phone that you can put your phone on grayscale, meaning nothing will be colorful on your phone. You'll no longer have the dopamine of the little red bubbles of notification. You'll no longer have the pretty blue. There is a reason that it is a psychological reason that your phone, the everything is curved, the colors, the bubble of the notifications are red. Your phone is actually built like cocaine. It's meant
Yeah.
to create an addiction. And so sometimes we can also get really hard on ourselves about, oh my gosh, I can't do the phone. I can't give up the phone. I'm like, well, it's because it's built as an addiction. And so let's build in a couple little techniques that we can do to take the addiction away, because to pretend like we're not going to have it in today's world, well, of course you are, right? But there's things that you can do. The grayscale, obviously
Ow.
plugging in another room, getting the
Right.
block. Some people will get that. But I'm telling you, girl, put that baby on grayscale and give it a test.
Oh
You'll
my
be
God.
bored out of your mind.
Oh my God. That's a great, great idea. I love that. You know what's something I've learned kind of recently? My daughter actually showed me. Or someone else did, the send later feature for texts, where you can set up a text that you want to send tomorrow morning or 2 days
Yes.
later to
Yes.
someone, and you don't actually, it'll do it itself. You send it, you write it. It's the
Yes.
best thing ever. Life changing. Life changing
Correct.
to me.
Like an email too, because business 101, especially if you're in a business that is all the time, you teach people how to treat you. You
Oh, big.
teach people how to treat you. And if
Mhm.
you reply to a text business related at 7 p.m., you just told them you work at 7 p.m. No, 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 no. We're going to schedule that baby for 7 a.m.
Yeah. It's so true. I love that line. I love that line. You teach people how to treat you. It's true. I've said that many times to many people. I'm like, you have to, it's what you're willing to tolerate, it's what you're willing to tolerate. All right. So what is your advice since you started your career and you pivoted from what you knew, and you started this whole new thing at 50? What is your advice, would you say, or some advice to women who are like you, like not fulfilled in it, like, and searching for something else, like there's got to be more than this. I need something new. I want to be a lounge singer, or I want to be, whatever, that they feel the callings of their soul, but they're afraid to act.
Yeah, that's so common. I mean, and I can totally relate. Definitely, it is first slowing down and taking a moment to ask yourself the questions. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a career change. It could, like you said, maybe it's adding a new hobby or whatever. But it all starts with clarity. It really, truly, everything starts with clarity. Everything starts with getting internal with yourself without judgment, and taking a moment and just waving the magic wand, right? And reminding yourself either A, what you used to love to do, or maybe what something you've always wanted to do, or something where you're always like, well, she can do it, but maybe I can't, right? Or it's really honestly just getting in tune with yourself and then figuring out, okay, well, what is one small thing I could do to start feeling that way? It's also recognizing when you are feeling it, right? So a lot of my clients they use the word balance. They'll be like, well, I'm so out of balance. And I'm like, well, okay, let's really look at your calendar and identify, are you out of balance? And then we need to figure that out. But sometimes we're in balance and we don't even realize it because we don't feel where we're at. So I'll have a mom maybe say, well, it's really important that I have dinner with my kids, right? As much as I can until we get into the sports and all those things. And I'll be like, okay, when was the last time you had dinner with your kids? And they'll say, well, yesterday. And I'm like, well, one, are we not putting our phones at the table? So that's a tactical. But two, did you actually feel it? Did you feel the balance? Well, not really. I'm like, balance is a feeling, just like overwhelm is a feeling. And it's like, we're sometimes in balance and we don't even realize it because we're like going like crazy gerbils on a wheel all the time. And so, to kind of circle back around with your question, is it's not always the big things. Sometimes it's just the tiny things. It's like the example I gave of eating your lunch away from your desk. And the reason I'm obsessed with that is I'm currently working with a nutritional coach, and I noticed every time I sent her a picture of my lunch in my journal, it was at my desk. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's kind of it. I mean, it's just, I wish it was bigger than that, but it's really not.
No, I think it's so important, though. I think we forget about it's the small things that make up our lives, and I think that's a very powerful statement. When you were journaling, was there something that came up with you that surprised you that it came up?
Yeah, it is kind of fun to pull them out. That's the kind of the cool part too, is to pull them out.
Yeah. Like, did you become a more spiritual person? Because when you talk about like, listening to your soul, often I feel like, and I don't mean any certain religion, I just mean like you're more connected to the universe, to this, your higher selves, your soul, and things like that. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's happened. I'm also spiritually wise, like I'm a yogi. I'm a practicing yogi. So I also do a lot of breathing and grounding. And so those are some of the things that, it's why also my journal says breathe out and breathe in. That came from my yoga practice.
Right.
I would say when I look back, what surprises me the most is how much my release statement over and over again is about comparing myself to others. So there is definitely, probably not so much anymore, but especially when I started my business, because I did decide to go on social media. I decided to pull Instagram as one of my lead generation levers, if you will, or one of my branding levers or marketing levers, whatever you want to call it. And social media can also be very toxic. And it was a little toxic for me in the beginning. And I noticed I was constantly writing, I will release, comparing myself, to other coaches or other speakers or other whoever's. And then eventually that went away because it started with the awareness. So sometimes when we're journaling, the awareness then can help us grow through the journaling.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. Right. But well, I feel like that's the worst thing as women and as people to do, is to compare ourselves. We're really just, there's no positive outcome in it.
No. Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. All right. So, but I know we only have a few more minutes. Habits of high performers. Give us a couple. Give us a couple to like, just to think about or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I'm going to speak to women here. So I'm going to and these are in no particular order. So I'm going to first say for women, leverage and/or asking for help. And I want you to think about this in all of your areas of your life. And so interesting enough, I was just at a women's conference and there was a panel, and it was a real estate panel. And I was saddened. I was actually like, ooh, we still have not fixed this industry, because it was all about working all the, you got to work all the time and all the days and never have off and whatever.
Hustle.
That's right. It's and then they were talking about leverage, but they were talking about leverage in their business, meaning hiring a social media director. Like, yes, I record the videos and I have the vision, but I have somebody who works for me and posts that. Or maybe hiring somebody to do your paperwork, or maybe hiring somebody to do your marketing or your emails or whatever. But they never brought up the at-home leverage. They never brought that up. And I was like, wait a second. And so I did not realize that when I was raising my kids, I had built out a CEO home system. Listeners, like, literally find me on Instagram and DM me CEO home system, and I will give you my CEO.
I'm going to do that too.
Yeah, like I will give you my system. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And so what I mean by leverage is, what are the things, because this is what we do in our business. So let's just talk personal for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What are the frictions or the like pain points that you have in your personal? And let's just think we've got little kids. I'm going to tell you one of my number one pain points was, what? We got another invitation to a birthday party? Like, seriously, girls? Like, what is up with that? We as moms are literally just exchanging money. I'm like, well, here's your $50 and here's my $50. It made me bonkers.
Yeah.
CEO of that crap, I went and I was like, now maybe it's easier with girls. I don't really know. I was like, we're going to fill this closet full of kind of generic-ish presents, the bubbles and the chalk and the whatever. The presents that you're going to give to your non-besties, but you got a birthday. And when you got a birthday party, you're going to go in that closet and you're going to pick something out. And then you're going to pick, I don't know if we picked 3 or 5 friends. You're going to pick a couple of really
Real
besties.
Yeah,
and we'll go get them something. That's a CEO system, right?
Yeah.
So that's leverage. So sometimes when we say leverage, it's literally like now you can get the boxed meals to your home. Leverage is teaching your kids at the age of 7 to do their own laundry. Leverage is teaching your kids how to pack their own lunch. Like, these are just the time, pack their own luggage when you go to Disney World. Like, leverage is, here's a sheet of paper that tells you how many things you need, or you're in kindergarten, here's a vision board that shows you all the things you need to pack in your backpack. And so that is the number one thing. If I were to pick any working mom who's overwhelmed, it's because you're still living in the 50s. Not the 50s. In the 50s, we were working outside the home. Let's say the 70s. The 70s when it's like, oh, women, power, you get to work outside the home. But that meant you still did everything.
Right.
You
still
did
have to do everything in the home. So
no.
here's 2 jobs.
Correct.
Here's 2 full-time
like,
jobs.
What just happened here, right? And it's like, no. Can we run our home like we would a business, right? And the way we run a business is we don't do everything, right? We don't make the paper that goes in the copier. We probably, if we're CEO, somebody else is putting the paper in the copier. I'm not saying we need to be jerks and we wouldn't do it, but the point is, like, we all have roles. Yeah. And so that is a high performance habit. A high performance habit is asking yourself every day, who can I ask to help me today? That is a high performance habit.
That's big. That's big. All right, Kim, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hate that question. You didn't prepare me for this. What?
Well, I mean, obviously you have a coaching business, so everything you say, you're just going to keep going, right?
So let me just think about this. So how old am I? 52 or 53? It doesn't matter. When you get over 50, it's like,
it all blends together. Yeah.
Gosh, I would love to, right now I have a very small, large business, right? I have somebody who works for me 20 hours a week. And so I would love to have a couple more powerful women on my team who are feeling their joy and their passion and, whatever their talents are. I would love to have my group coaching. I love to do group coaching because then it becomes much more impactful and we can create a little mini community. I would love to have some more, group coaching opportunities. And honestly, I think too, also figuring out, because I'm still figuring out how to run what I would consider an online business, where it's like, how do I attract people into my world that don't know me? But having some systems in place where just more people are coming into my ecosystem and figuring out how to end my day every day at 3:00. My husband is retired. So I'm building a business while he's retired. Yeah, and so I would really like to find joy and fulfillment still in the work and the craft and what gives me energy, but also ending my day a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Wait, no, I have another question for you. So when you're doing what you're doing and you think about all these things and journaling and everything, what advice would you give to your younger self if you could look back and after everything you've been to, that girl, what would you say to her? Could be a few words.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, my journaling journey did not start till, I was consistently doing it. And so I would have taken the advice from those that have gone before me that talked about it. And I mean, consistently worked on my mindset personally that way. That would be one. I would say two, just do the thing. As much as I am a quick start, there have been many, many times throughout, my 20s and 30s where I questioned a lot of what what I wanted to do or what I thought I could do. And instead, I wish I would have just tried it and done it without judgment.
You doubted, and
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
a tough thing.
And
We
that
all
comes
do.
with growth. That comes
Yeah.
with growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are probably some of the things. Probably been more honest about some of the things that I've gone through.
Honest to who? Yourself?
I and for when somebody asks the question, like, what did you go to school for, or where did you go to school, or because there's value in us sharing our stories and connection, right?
Yeah.
You become more
Yeah.
connected that way.
Yeah.
And you can make
You
a
help
greater
others.
difference that way in helping
Yeah.
others, because we all do have a story. Nobody's walking around here all perfect and shiny, full of rainbows and
Yeah.
butterflies all the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And you have, Kim. You have. So, quickly give your contact information, and
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat too. So,
Oh, yes, I would love to connect with anyone. Again, find me on Instagram is really the best place, just at Kim Rogne. DM me working moms, I'm happy, or working
Whatever.
moms or CEO
Yeah.
system. I'm happy to give you that system. And then you can go download Flow Self again at floself.com, flowself.com. And you can also just find me at kimrogne.com. Keeping it simple.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you for joining us, Kim. A big thank you to Kim Rogne, everybody. Thanks for coming on the show, sharing your incredible, incredible story.
Thank you, Jill. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. So are you. Oh my gosh, so are you. And yes, I'm Jill Conway, and thank you for listening to the show, celebrating incredible women like Kim. I hope you're inspired to pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. Your voice matters, and your story can help others. I hope you join me next time and share this with a friend. Bye-bye, everybody.